Now, at just 6 weeks old, our next guest, little boy Conaill, was hospitalised with RSV, which is a respiratory virus which affects the nose, throat and lungs.
Tell us what happened is Conaill's mother, Aoife McGrath, along with consultant in children's emergency medicine, Dr. Ciara Martin. Thank you both so much for being here. We really do appreciate it, and for talking about your little boy. We really appreciate it, Aoife. But we're going to go first, Ciara. What exactly is RSV? Because this time of year we start hearing about it.
RSV is one of the viruses that will circulate at this time of year, and it's respiratory syncytial virus. But actually what it is, it's a virus that affects the babies, as you said, it, lungs, nose, throat, and, all people of all ages can get it, but particularly children and particularly babies.
It's particularly dangerous for them. Aoife, let's talk about Conaill, who's 4 now, who I have to say is perfectly fine and in preschool at the minute, but at 6 weeks old you started to notice that something was wrong.
Yeah, Conaill just wasn't himself. He just seemed a little bit more sleepy. Like, he was 6 weeks old, he was starting to having longer awake periods, and he was kind of becoming his own little person. And on the Saturday I just noticed, it was the first Saturday in December, and I just noticed he seemed a little bit sleepier. He wasn't as interested in feeding, and when he was asleep he was snoring, which was new for him. I was just keeping an eye on him. Like, he was fine, he had no temperatures, and that evening when I was getting him ready for bed, I stripped him down and I noticed he wasn't breathing properly. So he was using his tummy muscles to breathe. He was having what's known as a tracheal tug, so his above his collarbone was recessing when he was breathing, and I just thought, this doesn't look right, this doesn't seem normal. So I called my husband and I was like, I could be panicking over nothing, but he's so small, we should bring him in to get him checked out.
God, fair play to you. Do you know that sort of intuition kicking in that something isn't right? It's 2001. I'm sure your brain for Conaill is going, COVID? You must have been thinking
Absolutely,
that. So what happened when you got to A&E?
So we got to A&E and I'd naively said to my husband, but sure, I'll probably be ringing, like, it was COVID times, I was the only parent allowed to be with him. I was like, I'm sure I'll be ringing you in an hour or two to come and pick us up. They're probably going to tell me it's fine. He was triaged really quickly because he was so young. And once they'd done his vital signs, they were like, you were dead right to bring him in. Your little boy is very sick. We're going to take him in and get him reviewed. And he was reviewed by a doctor within a matter of minutes. As a nurse myself, that was a big red flag for me, because I know I was expecting long waits in A&E. I know the pressures and the delays. So I was like, oh no, he's really not well. Do you know that they're seeing him so quickly? And within minutes, he was on oxygen. He had a feeding tube in his nose. He was on a heart monitor. He was placed in a cot, which was so alien to me because Conaill had literally spent the first 6 weeks of his life on my chest. He hadn't ever slept in a cot. And they were like, your baby's really unwell. They took some swabs. They were giving him some medication. He was being fed through a tube. And the next morning I met the emergency consultant and she was like, we have the results of the swabs. And I was like, oh, please don't tell me my baby has COVID. And she was like, oh, Mrs. McGrath, your baby has RSV. Like, chances are he wouldn't be as sick as he is if it was just COVID. So we were admitted then for 6 days, and as he started to kind of turn a corner and was weaned off oxygen, then we were allowed to go home.
How difficult, because I know you were breastfeeding at the time, and then a tube being put down your 6-year-old son's throat, being have to sleep on it, you couldn't go near him.
Yeah, so they had said don't handle the baby because handling the baby can put extra pressure on him. So they were like, the best thing for him is to be in the cot. So it was really, really difficult. It felt like it went against every instinct as a mum who would be, co-sleeping and breastfeeding, and it was totally against anything that was natural to me. At the time, I was aware of how unwell he was, and I was very happy with the care he was receiving. And I was like, everything they do is what's best for Conaill, and it's what he needs. So I was like, this is just how it has to be. But I suppose it was when he got better and we took him home that I was like, God, my little boy was so sick. When we got back to normal and we were cuddling, and yeah, it was really, really scary.
Oh God.
Really scary.
I mean, Ciara, seeing babies in such a vulnerable position like this, it's so awful. And I think it was only a few years ago on this show that I properly heard of RSV in babies. And it was a time when people were being warned about Christmas, and it was like, try not to be picking up and sniffing and hugging and kissing babies at this time of year, because is it easily transmissible? Is it like, what's the situation with it?
It is. It's very easily transmissible. So, you know, the advice is there. I know we have immunization now, but actually, you know, just making sure, you know, people have washed their hands, and anyone with a cold doesn't pick up your baby to give it a hug.
Which is very hard. You know, it is. It's
Yeah,
kind of a natural thing that you want to do.
Because we obviously thought COVID is bad, but RSV for babies in particular is extremely dangerous.
It is. Well, now most babies will get it. It's a difficult virus for them to cope with. You know, it's there for about 2 weeks. It affects their ability, as Aoife was saying, to breathe and to feed. A lot of babies will get over it fine without any help, but then you know, kind of 4 in every 100 will end up in hospital and needing more care.
I think, God, Conaill had a really bad run in his first year of life. He was in like a stint of 9 days. Was it 3 times that he was admitted?
So we were in hospital 3 times. We were back. So he was discharged, I think, on the 9th or 10th of December. And we were back in Stevens's Day, and we spent 24 hours in ED, but thankfully he didn't need an admission. And then he got over it, and he was a perfectly fine, normal baby. And then we got to his first birthday. So the day of his first birthday, he was okay. Bit of a runny nose, but his older brother, who was 4 at the time, had a cold, thought nothing of it. The next day I came home from work and he just wasn't himself. His eyes were glassy. His breathing was not as noticeably laboured as it was the first time round, but it just didn't seem right. So I was like, we'll keep an eye on him. I collected him from my aunt as his childminder. I collected him, brought him home, and in the 15-minute drive home, when I got to the house, there was a further deterioration, and I was like, I just don't like how quickly he's changing. So I was thinking on the way home, I'm going to need to bring him to DDoC, and then when I seen him again, I was like, we're going back to Temple Street. So we brought him back in and naively thought, this is going to be fine. Do you know, he's 1, he's really sturdy, he's basically walking, starting to babble, we'll be okay. Like, I'm just getting him checked as a precaution. But it was actually worse the second time round for Conaill. So his heart rate was very elevated. His oxygen sats were really low, so he needed constant nebulisation throughout the night. And he needed to be readmitted then.
Oh, bless.
So
he was taken away in an ambulance as well.
Yeah.
Must have been so difficult.
it was like seeing your baby in a car seat obviously ambulances are the same size for everybody, but you know, in what seems like an adult transport vehicle was really scary.
Yeah. He developed pneumonia.
He did.
Along with RSV.
Yeah, so he had started to perk up a little bit and they were weaning down his oxygen, and then he wasn't tolerating the oxygen being weaned and he was needing increasing doses of oxygen. So they took him for a chest x-ray and he had then developed a pneumonia. So that prolonged our stay because he needed antibiotics then.
Lads, first year of life.
I know.
But he's doing great.
He's great.
Like, with that, like, just the stress.
Yeah.
The stress. So I know now, like, there's a vaccine, there's an RSV vaccine that people can get for babies, right?
There is.
What is it? What do people do?
So what we have now is an immunisation for babies. So all babies born during... RSV is particularly comes in waves, so we see it in the winter months, kind of September through to February. So all babies born September through to February will be offered this immunisation before they leave the hospital where they're born, or if they're born at home, they'll be offered it there. And then we also have a catch-up for those babies born from March to September, so they can come to a walk-in clinic and have the immunisation over, and it's running. We ran that for 6 weeks from the start of September, but we're putting an extra 2 weeks on now so that people can bring their babies in and get them immunised. You phone up your local clinic, or you can walk in and you can get this immunisation. And the baby's protected because it's an immunisation. They're protected almost from day one when they get this.
Okay.
And listen, it's fantastic that it has been rolled out by the HSE. In terms of even flu vaccines and stuff, the statistics uptake are fairly poor, and particularly with the amount of cold and viruses, and we're seeing what's going on in the hospital, how difficult it is. it's something you would urge parents to go out there and get themselves or their kids immunised.
Absolutely. So this time of year, there's lots of different viruses around, and sometimes babies will come into hospital with 3 viruses at a time and will be very sick. So the best thing you can do for your baby is, if there's a vaccine or an immunisation, get it. Flu is certainly around at the moment, as we know, for all people. And there is a free vaccine. It's a nasal spray. You make an appointment with your pharmacist. And, you know, children 2 to 17, it's free.
And Ciara, how are you finding things? Because we know that from the studies released, or the Times released recently, we're talking about 7-hour waiting hours average kind of across the country. And like the last couple of years, the first time that we've seen, you know, waiting times for children on trolleys.
Sure.
Like, I suppose all of these things add to it. We know that this happens at this time of year. So how are you feeling with everything that's going on?
Well, one of the things we found is that the number of children coming in with respiratory illnesses who would have, you know, been in beds in the hospital dramatically reduced last year with this RSV immunisation, where we saw up to 60% fewer children coming into the emergency departments.
Really?
It is, a lot of paediatricians will say it's a game changer for small babies.
That's absolutely amazing.
That is amazing.
And Conaill, of course, is he's flying at the minute. He's 4, his older brother, Senan, as well as 6. Looking forward to Christmas.
Very excited for Santa.
I can imagine.
I can assume you're just like letting parents know this is not worth it, lads.
No.
Yeah, terrifying.
Absolutely. If you can do anything to stop your tiny baby being so unwell, why wouldn't you?
Absolutely. Aoife McGrath, thank you so much. Best of luck to Christmas, 2 boys. Tell you you're going to be busy as well.
Thank you.
And Dr. Ciara Martin, a consultant in children's emergency medicine. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for joining us.
this morning.